We bow. Good morning and welcome to the morning service bell chant. If you will pull out the Lojong from inside of your booklets, we are going to begin by reading this together. We'll start each of the reflections with the ring of a bell, and we will end it with the ring of a bell and a short moment of reflection. By thinking of all sentient beings as more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel for accomplishing the highest aim, I will always hold them dear. Whenever I am in the company of others, I will guard myself as the lowest among all, and from the depths of my heart cherish others as supreme. In my every action, I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others. Number 4. Whenever I see ill-natured beings or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I'd found a priceless treasure. Number 5. Whenever someone out of envy does me wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and give the victory to others. Number 6. Even when someone I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me very unjustly, I will view that person as a true spiritual teacher. Number 7. In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all my mothers and secretly take upon myself all their hurt and suffering. Number 8. I will learn to keep all these practices untainted by thoughts of the 8 worldly concerns. May I recognize all things as like illusions and, without attachment, gain freedom from bondage. We vow. We will return to noble silence until the start of service. And we bow. I'd like to invite up our incense lighters. And inside of your booklets, you will see we have a page for our incense offering. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. We bow. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see you all. Just a few announcements, just start of service, just to remind everyone. If you are a family with small children, you are welcome to use the downstairs area at any time. Should you need water, there's water fountains, cups, anything, help yourself, okay? If you find that there is a need for seats for families as they come in, although right now I do see quite a few open, but on days when we're pretty busy, if you can adjust your seat accordingly to allow families sit together, that would be helpful. And lastly, just as a reminder to how we chant our when we chant our refuges and the Heart Sutra, we tend to chant it at more of an upbeat tempo. I was reminded as when I was a teacher intern that they're not funeral dirges, but that we want to breathe life into these chants. So with that, I'd like to welcome everyone to stand up and greet each other silently. And we will stay standing and we will recite our 3 refuges. It is on page 7. I go for refuge, Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge, Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I know aware that I green jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And on the next page, page 8, we will chant the Heart Sutra. Dharma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age of death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any elusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharma, the radiant, fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Dhamma prajna paramita Hridaya Sutra. Please be seated. I must say, as coming to Sunday service, even though I'm not supposed to have a favorite part, don't attach. That is one of my most and favorite parts of service, is hearing everybody sing. And today, I don't know, there was something about just everybody. Really, it was really, really powerful today. I remember once at a Catholic church service, the priest had said that when you sing, you are embodying the teachings. So I always think of that when I hear a crowd chanting the Heart Sutra together. So embody those teachings. So good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. This morning, I'm going to be talking about the 6 Paramitas. And the 6 Paramitas are something that we study in the Bodhisattva class. So those of you who are here that are in the Bodhisattva class, this will be, you've already learned some of this, and hopefully this will help in your understanding as you continue your studies, as we continue our studies. So what is a paramita? I like to think of it as a practice of thinking of yourself less and more of others. It is the cultivation of engaging peacefully with our present existence. It is tenderness and kindness to all beings. It is learning to live in harmony with our suffering, or rather, retrain our conceptual mind to see beyond the dualism of our likes and dislikes. It is the shedding of a permanent self and awakening to our interbeing with all things. So even amidst our suffering, the Buddha tells us that it is possible to live a joyful and harmonious life. The Paramitas are intended to guide us in that. The teaching of the Paramitas is meant to instruct us on how to transform our mind from the way we think things are to seeing things as they really are. And in that realization, we can learn how to support other people on their journey to do the same. So at the end of the Heart Sutra, we chant, Gate, Gate, Paras, Gate, Parasam Gate, Bodhi Svaha. And, depending on who's writing the translation, it can come out to be a couple different things. But the way I've come to understand it is gone, gone, gone all the way over. Everyone gone to the other shore. Enlightenment. Yay! Svaha, as those of you who have been attending service regularly, means it's an exclamation of excitement. Hail, yay, woohoo, right? So gone to the other shore, that implies that there are two shores, right? And you've got to cross something to get to the other one. So the word paramita in Sanskrit is crossed, traversed, or transcended. And we often in Buddhism use it as a metaphor from going from this shore of samsara to the other shore of nirvana. So again, this shore of suffering, of dissatisfaction, of things that suck, right? To the shore of things that don't, to the things that we enjoy in life, right? To happiness, to unconditional love, right? And the Paramitas are that raft to get there, right? So the teachings of the Paramitas are intended to help us understand our pain and our suffering so that we can live in unconditional love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, the four immeasurables. But in reality, there's only one shore. So which one are you on? Many lay Buddhists are familiar with the teachings of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And the six Paramitas align perfectly with those teachings. And they encourage us to deepen our practice. And the six Paramitas are as follows. We have Dana Paramita, which is generosity. My last talk was on Dana Paramita. Then you have Sila Paramita, which is discipline, and Kshanti Paramita, which is patience. And I also did a talk on that. So for generosity and patience, if you feel like going back on the YouTube channel and checking those out, there's a little bit more in-depth talk on those things, on those two paramitas. Then you have Virya Paramita, which is diligence, Dhyana Paramita, which is meditation and concentration, and then Prajna Paramita, which is wisdom. And you're familiar with the term Prajna Paramita in the chant that we just recited, right? Prajna Paramita. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So I'm going to go through those six, and bear with me. This is not an easy subject to talk about, especially Prajna Paramita. It takes some understanding, it takes some realization, and it takes time with your practice. So Dana Paramita, the Paramita of generosity. I think the easiest way to describe this is to share without expectation of return, to share unconditionally. You can think of it as if, as lay Buddhists, we have monetary funds we can give. So dana boxes, right, where we can support our temple. We can give of our time, of our effort. We can give items of clothing that we don't use anymore, right? But what about being a monk who doesn't have anything? You could say that they have 3 robes that they wear and a begging bowl. What do they have left to give? So how can they be generous, right? So that is where being generous with our love, our compassion, our understanding is really a great practice that will help us come from the shore of suffering to the shore of compassion and wisdom. Sila Paramita, the paramita of discipline. This one I have in my own personal practice has been very important as of late. I find that without discipline, I can't get anything done, literally anything. And there is a quote by a gentleman by the name of Jocko Willink, who is an American Navy SEAL and author. And this particular quote I have actually given to my dance students as means of encouraging them to understand their practice of study dancing better. But I think it can really help us all in all areas of our life. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, and it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. But discipline is infinitely more important. No matter how you feel, get up and do what you're supposed to do. That's it. That's discipline. It's not motivation. If you only did what you're supposed to do when you're motivated to do it, that's leaving it to chance. But if you're disciplined, you go do what you're supposed to do. So discipline is what perfects our practice, even when we don't feel like it. It's been a long day at work, or maybe you woke up late, you didn't get to your morning practice. You're like, oh, I'll do it later in the evening. You get home and you're like, you can't even think about it because it almost causes you more stress. But then if you just lean into that discipline, lean into your suffering of I don't like, this is not pleasing to me right now. Lean into that, use that as your teacher, and just sit down and do it. You'll find that at the end of it, you'll be grateful for it. I always tell my dance students, even when you don't feel like practicing, just 5 minutes. And then they come back to me and they say, I went down for 5 minutes and then all of a sudden I looked at the clock and it was 30 minutes later. Like, it's amazing, isn't it, when you get up and do the things that you love to do, even when you don't feel like it. So it's waking up each day and recognizing that even with physical pain and mental stress, we can actively choose to zone into our discipline and practice. Discipline is a commitment to what you love in life. It's a commitment to a relationship or a task. And without discipline, our lives would be filled with a lot of suffering. Kshanti Paramita, patience. Patience is kindness. It's recognizing the struggles and needs of others and placing them before your own. It's gentle understanding. I think patience is often confused with tolerance, and this is a misunderstanding. I'd like to share a quote from teacher Dojin Ponlop Rinpoche, and he says, "Some say that if someone hits you on the right cheek, you should show them the left. That's actually the wrong approach. This isn't patience. This is actually egocentricity. Because you only care for your own karma. You don't care for that person's karma who's slapping you. So if someone's trying to hit you as a bodhisattva, you should stop them. Patience is thinking of others and helping them cultivate positive actions for future benefit, even when it's uncomfortable." Virya Paramita, diligence. Now this one plays in with discipline, and it is learning how to flip our mind to view things from I don't want to this is great. How to change our perspective, how to switch the lens. It's joyful perseverance. It is delight in positive action. Enjoying the act of doing the dishes or making Thanksgiving dinner for 25 people who are coming over to your house. Or in my case, cleaning many, many dirty diapers. It is celebrating the act of tilling a garden and knowing that that process, even though you don't have vegetables right now, in the future, you will have vegetables or flowers. There is a gentleman in my neighborhood who every year he cultivates this really beautiful butterfly garden. And from the start of spring, and whenever we go on walks, it's like I'm always looking to see what's new. And whenever we go on walks, I always see him out there working, and he's there pretty much from the start of spring all the way through the end of the fall, making this beautiful garden. And I don't know if he's doing it for himself, for the community, but either way, it benefits us all. So when you cultivate a garden, think of that. In diligence, Thich Nhat Hanh suggests using gathas throughout your day. And gathas are a great practice for coming back to the present moment and reminding us of the joy that is available to us. These past couple of weeks, I've been practicing the gatha of washing the dishes. And I'm starting to tear up because it's been really meaningful. You wouldn't think that washing the dishes would be that meaningful. But when you practice something like a gatha with it, it's profound and can really change your view on it. And it goes, washing the dishes is like bathing a baby Buddha. The profane is the sacred. Everyday mind is Buddha's mind. And sitting with that and repeating it over and over and over again brings you back to each moment and realizing that every moment of your day, every day is Buddha's mind, every moment. And just being here and practicing that is a gift. Not everybody is at that place in their life where they can do that. The next paramita is dhyana paramita, and that is concentration and meditation. So we often hear about this monkey mind, and the monkey mind is our unsettled, confused, distracted, uncontrollable mind. It's that little voice in the back of your head that keeps saying, it's telling you about all the things you have to do during your day when you're trying to meditate. It's the thought about the one little action you did 5 weeks ago that you're still thinking about because it was kind of awkward and it made everybody feel weird or something like that, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You've all been there. It's that is the monkey mind. And meditation is the way to soothe that or to become friends with it. And oddly enough, in our meditation practice, the monkey mind is what distracts us. But the medicine for monkey mind is mindfulness. So it's kind of like they go hand in hand. When we meditate, we are training our mind to concentrate on the task at hand. And when we do this, we usually start with our breath. The in-breath, the out-breath, then the space between the breaths. And then as the breath thoughts settle, and we're finally able to get into that centered, that calmness, and feel the body in the body, the mind in the mind. That is where our practice develops. And it's being able to take that practice into our daily life. Take that practice of sitting on the cushion into being at the grocery store when there are a million people there. It is taking that practice into our morning commute or evening commute. And if you've ever lived in a big city like Chicago or the San Francisco Bay Area, sometimes that requires a lot of patience. So it's mindfulness and a concentration and meditation. Personally, for me, I take it into my life with my daughter, who's a 2.5-year-old toddler who has lots of opinions. We're talking lots, and maybe every 2.5-year-old's like that. But that's where I try to bring my practice. I try to help that in my life. That's where it helps me. So the next and final paramita is prajna paramita. And this is the wisdom of emptiness. Shinkyu talked about this, or he touched on it in his Genjo Koan. And Kunga also talked about it last week in his talk. He touched on it a little bit. And, again, we have this objects and ideas. They don't have this intrinsic existence, but rather a coming together of causes and conditions. And what we're doing is we're observing both relative and absolute realities, which is the teaching of the two truths. 2nd century Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna said, "The absolute truth is that there is no difference between samsara and nirvana, because both are mental constructs, empty of a fixed essence." This shore, that shore, which shore is it? Who's on first? So I'm currently reading this book called No Self, No Problem. And it's a neuroscientist who talks about the similarities between neuroscience and Buddhism. And he tells this story about how he was at a soccer match, his kids' soccer match. He took his kids to soccer, and I'll just read it. I think it makes more sense that way. So at my son's soccer match, I found myself in a conversation with another soccer dad about how stressful work was at the time. I tried to explain that most stress is the result of taking fictitious stories too seriously, but he was having a hard time separating the story from the reality. So I pointed to the soccer field and reminded him that there was no soccer championship going on out there. There were no teams out there. No points were being scored outside the collective fiction in our heads. The only thing out there was a bunch of little boys running around, kicking a ball, and everything else was a made-up story about it. Dhammapada, verse 1. All experiences, Dharma, are preceded by mind, having mind as their master, created by mind. All things are created by mind alone. So again, which shore are you on? The spiritual path is paying attention with tenderness to the moment that is right here, right now. So you can take the opportunity to get to the other shore. The Paramitas encourage a radical honesty with ourselves by observing and acknowledging our suffering. Our suffering is actually our greatest teacher here. Number 1 of the Four Noble Truths. It is when we can lean into it and learn from it that we can really bring that into our lives and be on the other shore. Starting to get confused now. How many shores are there? Thinking of moments of suffering, you can think of something that's really stressing you at work. Again, what story are you telling yourself? You can think about something that's maybe really stressful going on in your family. Again, what's the reality there? Maybe it's something as simple as an ingrown toenail, or getting a seat on an airplane that you really didn't want. There are lots of places we can think about where our likes and dislikes are. Where are our aversions and our attachments? And those are what we are asked to, in our practice, to lean into. And we do talk about this idea of a no self. And that, I think, is the most challenging concept again, to realize. My dad, who is 9th generation Dublin-born man, and he's definitely got the gift of gab. He has a saying, well, he's got lots of sayings, but one of the ones he said growing up was, what's yours is mine, or what's yours is mine, and what's me is me own. And I often think of that as the self-mind. So in our practice, what we are practicing on doing is relinquishing the me, mine, me own, and soothing the habitual desires that we have to control the situations that we're in. And being able to see the world for what it really is. It's just a bunch of kids on a field kicking a ball. So when we are distracted by our stories, that's Mara. Mara in the Buddha's enlightenment. The Mara or Mara sent his beautiful daughters to distract him from becoming enlightened. He sent thousands of demons, of these armies of demons who were shooting arrows at him. And the Buddha turned the arrows into flowers. And he touched the earth and he said, the earth is my witness. And that was that internal struggle that we go through when we have these, even when we're sitting here meditating and those thoughts come up. That's Mara shooting the arrows. So practice turning them into flowers, right? The Buddha is not separate from who we are. Okay. We each are baby Buddhas. So as we practice, this is inviting Mara in for tea. Invite Mara in for tea. Lean into your suffering. Recognize Mara as an old friend. When you're in the grocery store having that hard time being around all those people, somebody bumps into you and you're already stressed and anxious and tight, and you want to turn around and, maybe react in this habitual negative way. And maybe you turn around and you realize that person is blind. They didn't see you there, quite literally. So that changes how you view the situation. You then go from this angry mind to, oh, how can I help you? Right? So how can we live in that how can I help you mind always? So it's up to you whether how literally you're going to take the metaphor of the shores, this shore, that shore, a shore. This whole practice is not meant to attain something or accomplish enlightenment. That's just the journey. When we are attempting to make things, to accomplish something or attain something, we are actually trying to make it permanent. We are trying to hold on to it. We are trying to grasp it. And part of our practice is non-attachment, relinquishing that too. We're not trying to attach to enlightenment. It's not something you can gain. You already have it. So the secret is that we already have everything we need, and nirvana is available to you. You just have to remove the dust from your eyes to see it. So I want to wrap up the talk on the Paramitas with the opening chapter of the Diamond Sutra. And it goes like this. This is what I heard one time when the Buddha was staying in the monastery in Anapindika's Park in Jeta's Grove near Shravasti, with a community of 1,250 bhikshus who are fully ordained monks. That day, when it was time to make the alms round, the Buddha put on his Sangati robe and, holding his bowl, went into the town of Shravasti to beg for alms, going from house to house. When the alms round was completed, he returned to the monastery to eat the midday meal. When he put away his Sangati robe and his bowl, washed his feet, arranged his cushions, and sat down. That is a teaching on the 6 paramitas right there. Wearing the robe is discipline. Begging for alms is generosity. Going from house to house is patience. Putting away the bowl and washing his feet, that's diligence. Arranging cushions or sitting down, that's the mindfulness or meditation practice. And the combination of all of that, the actual living, that's wisdom. Gotta figure out what my notes are now. Yeah, here we are. So again, how are you bringing the paramitas into your life? How do you think? How do you experience? How do you react? That's the important part. And that is how we transform ourselves to benefit all beings. That's how we go from this shore to that shore. It's in our practice that we engage the paramitas and weave them into our daily existence. And this is the practice of a bodhisattva. So if you ever feel lost All you have to do is recite the Bodhisattva vows. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. Thank you. Before we get into our meditation, I'd like to open the floor to any comments, questions, anything that might have been confusing, or if you'd like a little bit more, just to have a little bit more of a conversation about things. The floor is open. Well, I'm glad the talk was straightforward. Any thoughts about it? Maybe not questions, but just thoughts. Thoughts about the 6 paramitas. Maybe one in particular: diligence, wisdom. Although that one we could probably spend weeks talking about, if not years. Generosity.
Thank you for this talk this morning. Over the last, I would say, month and a half, and this goes to something you said earlier about generosity. That is my Dharma name, so I struggle with that one a lot. You had mentioned how, I'm losing my train of thought, how it's focusing on others more than ourselves. And especially over the last month and a half, I've had conflicts between what I do for the temple and what I have to do for myself, and realizing that I was focusing more on myself and how guilty I feel about that. And there's that internal talk as, no, I need to do this and they can wait. And that's a struggle when I focus on what needs to be done for me, and then I'm not addressing other people's needs and striking that balance. Could you talk about that if you
Absolutely. It's a place to be gentle with yourself, because remember, if we're benefiting all beings, you're included, right? So sometimes you have to be able to say, this does need to wait, and not feel guilty about it. It's not about feeling guilty. It's also not, I think, something that there's a couple therapists that I follow on the social medias, and they talk about healing from societal and generational trauma. And one of the things that our society likes to do is instant gratification. Have to have it now. Have to be done right now. And my mom is she's been a project manager for big organizations like Bank of America and heading multi-million-dollar projects. And I often saw her putting herself aside frequently, time and time again, to meet other people's needs. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. Sometimes you just have to take a step back. And it's not that you're not thinking about others, because you're concerned about them, right? You want to help, but you have to help yourself too. We have to be gentle with ourselves. And I think that is something we often forget, because we have this internal struggle of, but I have to do this for other people. And we chanted Lojong this morning. And where is it? In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all mothers and secretly take upon myself all their hurt and suffering, right? We also have, whenever I see ill-natured beings or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, right? Those overwhelmed with suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I had found them like a priceless treasure. So these right here, this Lojong meditation is a great one to sit on. But also, again, don't forget yourself in that. There is a YouTube video out there on the Lojong teachings that I believe was put out by Pema Chodron's organization. And it talks a little bit more about these in depth. That's a good one to give a listen to. I hope I answered your question, or at least gave some insight. Which, by the way, for the Gathas, I did. There are some handouts over here. So on your way out, if you feel like grabbing them, there's 10 daily Gathas that you can incorporate into your life. I think so, yes. They will be online as well. Thank you for reminding me, Poshi.
Hi.
Good morning.
I really like the imagery that you gave us about the arrows turning into flower petals, and how it ties into what shore are you on, because Buddha took the suffering and turned it into happiness, like goodness. They didn't move. He didn't move. The suffering changed around him as a result of his point of view.
Yeah,
And
lens.
yeah.
Lens shifted.
And so I just like the whole like parallel of like, are we on the shore of suffering? Are we are we being hailed by arrows? Or are we on the shore of enlightenment? Are we being showered with flower petals instead? And it's just your own perspective that makes it so.
Absolutely.
I really appreciated this talk and going through them in such detail. So gratitude for that. My own individual practice around what's the second one?
Sila, discipline.
Not discipline.
Diligence.
I am having a senior moment. This is what happens when I don't.
Generosity.
Generosity. How could I forget that? What's the greatest city in the world? It's generosity. Just around generosity, I've found that giving folks your full attention is a way to practice generosity and patience. When you don't have anything else to give, you can just give them your full attention. And it's not always easy when we're so motivated to do things so quickly, or to make judgments about people while you're listening to them instead of actually listening to them.
Mara and the monkey mind.
You got it. There it is. It's sneaky. It's sneaky, but that has been my practice. And just as I'll share that I'll know if I'm doing well, if I can remember names of people when I meet them for the first time. If I can't remember their name, it means that I was somewhere else and I wasn't giving them my full attention. I was doing other things. So just sharing that just in case it's helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. That is incredibly helpful. So I think we're going to wrap it up so we can have a few minutes of meditation together and before we finish service. As always at the end, I just want to thank all of you for being here. I would not be in this position if I didn't have people to share the Dharma with. So you are my teachers as well. I learned from you all. I also want to thank those who did the our incense lighting and our greeter this morning, who everybody got to see as they walked in. Our tech folks online, who are not even online, the ones in here, who are helping us out and making sure everything's done. To our board for keeping us on track. Our other Dharma teachers, right? Can even thank the guy who delivered the gas to the gas station so that way we could get here today in our cars. So many people and things to be grateful for in our world of interbeing. So with that, we will start our meditation. Prepare yourself. Joys and concerns. Are there some things in your life that you'd like to celebrate with us? Or some things in your life that maybe you'd just like a little bit of meta for? Yay!
Tomorrow I am going to ride a horse. I ride a horse every Monday.
That is a joy.
Hello, my name is Ian. Figured I'd share a joy. I live just right over there, a couple blocks down, and I've been there for a few months now. And for the first time, I got to see my parents and brother since like before Christmas. So that was very nice.
Do we have anything online?
I have one joy expressed on Zoom. I have to go in here to read it. Okay, so Amy says, I'm meeting a girl today for the second time whom I might foster and eventually adopt.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That is definitely a joy. All right. So we're going to take a moment and sit with those joys and also with those who may have concerns that didn't voice them and just need a little bit of our support and love and understanding. Concerns and challenges are difficult in life, and this is why we have a sangha, is to support each other in both the good and the bad. So we're thinking of you. Let's take a moment. My mom always likes to say, I surround you in light when she hears of people going through suffering. So I always think of that. Announcements.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jake. I'm doing the Dharma announcement today. So Dharma Paramita, which we just talked about, is the practice of generosity. This temple is funded and run entirely by volunteered resources, time, effort, energy. So if you would like to be a part of that, there are Dana boxes at either end of the Dharma hall. If you're online watching on YouTube, there's a drop-down arrow that says show more or something like that. Yeah, thank you. And that has a link that you can follow to donate online. If you go to zengr.org, there's a link somewhere on there that goes to PayPal. Amazon Smile is no longer a thing anymore. Amazon ended that, so that is no longer an avenue for donating. But if you would like to get involved in non-monetary ways in terms of volunteering time or effort, you can speak to either myself, Hoshi, over there, and who else is organizing that? I don't know. Kunga, who is not here right now, I believe, but you can talk to somebody. I think that's all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, I have two announcements. The temple's board of directors is seeking to fill an open seat. The board of directors is responsible for governing and managing the business affairs of the temple. As a board member, you'll be able to use your talents and skills to make a positive impact on our temple and community while building relationships and developing professionally. Board members must have completed the preceptors class, have good organization and communication skills, and be willing to serve a 3-year term. Contact any board member if you're interested. Board members, please raise your hand. You can also email Poshi Jan Ansing over there to learn how you can make a difference. So thank you. Announcement number 2. We're also looking for volunteers to join the tech team. The tech team sets up the audio and video, produces the Sunday Dharma Talk live streams on Zoom and YouTube. Despite the name, you don't need any special technical skills, just be comfortable working with a computer. And we'll train you on exactly what to do. And we rotate tech duty each week. So with a sufficient number of tech team members, you'll be on duty about once a month. If you're interested, you can reach out to any of the tech team members. Tech team members, raise your hand. Or you can send an email to Reverend Kunga for more information. Thank you.
It really isn't that hard to be on the tech team. It's just knowing how to use a mouse mostly. So we'd love your help. We'd love to have you join us. Other announcements include the board meeting is the 3rd Sunday of each month. We just had one, so the next one will be in March. And you can join at the temple. Can you still join via Google Meets? Okay, so yes, you can still join via Google Meet. Buddhist-based recovery meetings are Mondays at the temple or join via Zoom, Wednesdays at the Alano Club, and Fridays at the temple or join on Zoom. For event details, visit zengr.org. We will have an intro to meditation class coming up mid-April. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. And with that, we are going to read our closing gathas. Yeah, stretch it out. And together we say, for all unskillful action ever committed by my decent soul, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. On this side, turn to this side. And we vow. Just a few last end of service reminders. to arrange your cushions, fluff them up, put them back to the way you found them. Try and get your lines nice and neat for the next group that's coming in. Cushion handles face the back of the hall, and the zippers face to the right of the hall, but I think everybody's mats are actually in order. Chant books, if you can return them to the front page and make sure the 2 pieces of paper are inside. And it's okay if you want to take either of those pieces of paper home. Totally welcome to do that.